My cousin stirred up drama, ignored my mom's cooking, my sister's outfit, my uncle's new car. Nothing was off limits. People were clearly uncomfortable, but again, we all tried to brush it off to avoid ruining the day. Then she started crossing boundaries. My kids, who are 10 and 7, were really excited about the gathering, and they had set up a small art project they wanted to show everyone. When Julia saw it, she laughed and made a sarcastic comment about how it looked like something a toddler would make. My kids were clearly upset, and I could see their little faces fall. That's when I started to feel the irritation bubbling up, but I kept calm and asked Julia not to be so harsh. But it didn't end there. Julia kept pushing everyone's buttons. She moved on to my sister, who recently went through a rough breakup. My sister had been open about her struggles and was really looking forward to this family gathering to take her mind off things. Julia, however, decided to bring it up in front of everyone, making it clear she thought my sister was better off without her ex and implying that he left her for good reasons. My sister got teary-eyed, and I had to pull her aside to comfort her. This was supposed to be a safe space for everyone, and Julia was ruining it for her own amusement. At this point, I was reaching my breaking point. I walked over to Julia, asking her to please be mindful and keep the mood positive. She rolled her eyes and said something along the lines of, "It's not my fault everyone here is so sensitive. People need to toughen up." I was fuming, but I took a deep breath and decided to give her one last chance. The final straw came when she started arguing with my husband over some political issue. My husband is a pretty level-headed guy and doesn't engage in heated discussions at family events. But Julia kept poking and prodding, trying to bait him into an argument. When he finally stood up and said he was done talking, she called him weak and stormed off to the living room, leaving everyone in an awkward silence. That was it for me. I walked over to Julia and told her, "I think it's time for you to leave." She looked stunned, probably not expecting me to stand up to her. She tried to argue, saying she was just being honest, but I wasn't having it. I told her that her behavior was unacceptable and that she had made everyone uncomfortable enough for one day. She reluctantly gathered her things and left, muttering under her breath the entire way out. After she was gone, the atmosphere shifted back to the warm, welcoming vibe we'd hoped for. People seemed relieved, and the rest of the evening went smoothly. My sister even came up to me later and thanked me for standing up to Julia. I was grateful everyone could enjoy the gathering, but part of me felt guilty for causing a scene, even if it was necessary. Update. A few days later, Julia started reaching out to family members, trying to get sympathy. She painted herself as the victim, claiming I had overreacted and made a mountain out of a molehill. She even told people that I was trying to control who could and couldn't come to family events. Some family members reached out to ask what had happened, and when I explained my side, most of them were understanding. They knew how Julia could be and admitted they'd also felt uncomfortable with her behavior. However, there were a couple of relatives who thought I had overstepped. They felt that family gatherings should be open to everyone, no matter their behavior, and I should have found a way to de-escalate without kicking Julia out. I could see their point, but I didn't agree. Julia had crossed so many lines and made everyone so uncomfortable that I couldn't let it go on. The last thing I wanted was for future gatherings to be filled with drama and tension just because we were afraid to set boundaries. Another update. Julia ended up texting me, saying that if I wanted to apologize, she'd be willing to forgive me. I couldn't believe the nerve. I told her that, while I was sorry it had come to this, I stood by my decision to ask her to leave. I also told her that, until she could learn to respect others, she wouldn't be invited to any family gatherings until next year. She responded with a long rant, calling me all sorts of names and accusing me of turning the family against her. I didn't respond to her messages. I figured that there was no point in engaging in more drama. After our conversation, Julia went quiet, and I assumed she had finally accepted the situation. But a few days later, she took to social media, making vague posts about family betrayal and fake relatives. I was tempted to respond and defend myself, but I decided to take the high road. I didn't want to air our family issues publicly, and I knew responding would just escalate things further. Final update. It's been a couple of weeks since all of this happened, and things have settled down. Thanksgiving went better than I expected once Julia left, and I've been hearing from other family members that they actually enjoyed the gathering more without her. My sister even told me she felt a lot more relaxed knowing Julia wouldn't be there to criticize her. It seems like my decision to set boundaries has had a positive impact on the family. As for Julia, I haven't heard from her directly since our last exchange. Some family members who were initially on her side have reached out to me, saying they now understand why I made the decision I did. They realized that Julia's behavior had been a problem for a while and that letting it slide only made things worse. Looking back, I don't regret what I did. It was a difficult choice, but sometimes you have to stand up for what's right, even if it means making tough decisions about family. I still care about Julia, but I hope this time apart will give her a chance to reflect on her actions. Maybe, in the future, she'll come back with a different attitude. Until then, I'll continue to prioritize a peaceful, positive environment for our family gatherings. If she does change and makes an effort to be more respectful, I'll be open to welcoming her back. But for now, I feel like I made the right call. Family is important, but so is respecting each other's boundaries. Sometimes, a little distance is exactly what's needed to rebuild relationships.